아직은 카메라가 신기하기만 한 중학생들.
I like chicken.
그런데 이 학생은 뭐죠?
KFC chicken.
떨어진 당을 보충하려고 군것질도 하네요.
이게 광고에 찍히는 거 아니야? 맛있는 거 맛있어요.
초조할 만도 한데 긴장감은 찾아보기 힘듭니다.
오늘 1등하면 나 1등 안 한다니까 쏘는 거야 다 전체한테. 진짜 못해서 잘했어 완전. 축하푸카.
하지만 벌써 대회 3일째. 체력은 이미 바닥난 상태입니다.
피곤해 보이는데.
네, 피곤해요. 어제 예선하고 나서 체력을 다 써가지고 너무 피곤해서 바로 골아 떨어지는데 집에 가자마자 또 일어나자마자 틈도 없이 바로 여기 오고 부랴부랴 와가지고
기다리던 준결승 진출팀 발표. 두 손 모아 기도한 결과는요. 합격이네요. 축하합니다.
It was a 5-0 unanimous win to the light bulbs.
아, 치킨을 입에 달고 다니던 학생이군요.
Momentum was a 5-0 unanimous decision.
Team Jovis. Team Jovis.
준결승 준비를 위해 경기장으로 향하는 학생들.
어디로 가는 거예요? 네? 어디로 가요?
저희 잘 모르겠어요.
모멘텀 팀 목적지도 모르는데 어딜 가나요? 1분 1초를 아끼기 위해 걸어가면서 준비에 한창이네요.
Sacrifice all their money that they are. 이거 원하고 그러지야 그것도 페어했는데. 우리 여기 아니야.
어머, 길을 잘못 들었나 봐요.
창피하니까 제발. 야 근데 일로 가는 거 맞아? 아니 어디야?
폭풍 질주, 말 그대로 바람을 가르고 갑니다. 잘 찾아갈 수 있을까요?
I have the exact reason why we need the UN.
모멘텀이 길을 헤매는 사이 다른 팀들은 준비에 한창입니다.
Yes. Here's our criteria. Exactly, that's our criteria.
호흡이 척척 뭔가 잘 풀리는 분위기네요.
결승에서 보겠습니다.
치킨 학생 시합이 코앞인데도 장난이 여전하네요.
이거 저희 못 찍으면 편집해주세요. 이거 찍으면 안 돼요.
조비스 팀도 열심히 준비하고 있습니다. 아주 진지하죠?
Success in those situations. 꼭 우승해서 가겠어요.
아, 우승할 자신이 있어요?
열심히 해야죠. 화이팅.
대회장 안에는 또 다른 한 팀이 있습니다. 지난해 4강에 올랐던 헌터스.
So how did UN contribute in terms of solving those problems?
그런데 분위기가 그리 밝진 않네요. 뭔가 잘 안 풀리나 보죠. 이 팀은 뭐가 문제인 걸까요?
누가 원산자를 만든 게 아니라니까. 임파이어는
시간 없는데 잘 해결이 될까요?
그러니까 피스를 위해 만들었다니까. 월드워 2가 끝나고 이러면 안 되겠다 해서 인류의 증진을 위해서 만들게 유행이야.
뭐야?
아까 바람을 가르던 모멘텀 팀은 아직도 뛰고 있네요. 오르고 또 오르고 또 오르고.
여기다.
드디어 대회장에 도착했습니다.
가운데 앉을게.
부랴부랴 토론 준비에 들어가네요.
야 그러면은 초식이 없어 초식이? 됐어.
제 소금 한마디 같아.
준비도 별로 안 했는데 사랑해서 너무 기쁘고 여기 온 사람들도 다 대단한 것 같아요.
시작도 하기 전에 난관에 부딪혔던 모멘텀. 땀 흘린 보람이 있어야 할 텐데요. 드디어 준결승. 헌터스와 더 라이트벌브스의 대결입니다.
Mr. Madam Speaker, what is United Nations? United Nations, it sounds nice, right? Table of discussion, peace talk, it sounds good. The problem is that it only sounds good.
Remember to us like media attention is caused by the UN.
Okay, I'll tell you that. Number one, we say that you talk about Darfur and Rwanda. We say that actually the media attention centered on the United Nations Security Council forced United Nations peacekeeping missions onto Darfur in 2007.
모멘텀과 조비스의 시합도 안 볼 수 없죠.
We define world largest problems that also regarding like poverty and world conflicts, as we told you about the Israel and Palestine issues that have started from 1967.
The UN is actually doing a very, very good job on stopping those companies, stopping those countries from having nuclear weapons and having a very, very peaceful world. Thank you.
이렇게 치열한 준결승전이 모두 끝났습니다. 마침내 결승 진출팀을 가리는 시간.
Okay, we're ready to make the announcement. First semifinal is between the light bulbs and hunters.
Six to one split decision. The light bulbs. The light bulbs.
The Light Bulbs 축하합니다.
And for the second semifinal.
The result was a 7-0 decision for the opposition from Jovis.
조비스도 정말 기뻐하네요.
Please come up to the front.
결승전은 더 라이트벌브스와 조비스의 대결로 좁혀졌습니다. 주제는 실험 대상을 인종별로 구분해서는 안 된다입니다. 진지하게 공부 하나 했더니 카메라 앞에선 여전히 장난꾸러기네요.
그 승리의 기쁨이 더 클 법도 한데 그러면 몸으로 한번 표현해 본다면? 공약으로 뭐 노래 누가 춤출 거야 누가 아니면 개인기 뭐 보여줄 거야? 간단하게?
노래와 춤을 하죠. 파이팅.
춤도 될 것 같아.
그죠?
I can't dance. I can't dance. I can't dance. I can't dance.
여기는 조비스 팀의 대기실. 흥분이 채 가시지 않아서일까요?
공부 안 했대요?
지금 너무 얼떨떨해가지고.
와,
저런 정신 차려요. 시합이 얼마 안 남았다고요.
And this is racism, so it's same as religion.
만약에 우승을 했다.
막내.
참고로 쟤는 지금 7cm 구글.
공약으로 그 신발 벗기.
아니야, 안 돼요. 아니야. 그럼 뭐 무대에서 신발 벗어야 돼요?
제작진이 자리를 비키자 바로 이러고 있네요. 벌써 이긴 것처럼 기뻐하는군요. 조비스 팀은 과연 공약을 지키게 될까요?
Welcome to the grand finals of the 5th Ytn Hoops Ytn Junior Youth English Debating Championship. I'd like to invite the first speaker from the government to the podium to begin the debate.
First, that race is an obsolete, inaccurate method of scientific categorization. And second, why the use of race as a category enables bigotry and racism unacceptable in our modern world. According to Craig Venter, the brain and leader behind the Human Genome Project, the Human Genome Project itself proves that race isn't a valid genetic category. But second, there's also no pure race anymore because there no longer exists the concept of a race. There's no longer a race of African Americans or a race of Caucasian. In history, there's been a plethora of research that suggests or claims that African Americans have a higher rate of crime or on average have a lower rate of IQ. The fact is, and the problem is, that it is ultimately impossible to distinguish whether that is something scientific, genetic, a biological difference, or a social categorization in which different environments force them to react differently. Yes, ma'am.
These researchers are never going to be disproved under your model, and which aggravates the stereotype you talked about.
Nicely leads actually on to my second argument about why the use of race as a category itself enables bigotry and racism unacceptable in the modern world. But even if you are completely free of all of these stereotypes, it is natural to think of ourselves or us as an individual as better or superior or at least not inferior. And we think that when this social lens exists, the concept of using scientific research to break racism, to shatter these stereotypes and to use it for equality is impossible.
소셜 렌즈 어떤 뜻으로 썼던 거예요?
이 렌즈를 통해서 모든 걸 보게 되면 이 렌즈가 결국은 관념인데 이 관념을 통해서 모든 세상을 보게 되면 그 세상을 나의 관념에 맞게 맞춘다라는 의미에서 그런 걸 썼어요.
We strongly support the freedom of science. Scientists are not politicians and should not be held to political correctness. If a scientist is wrong, then let other scientists disprove it, Mrs. Speaker, because we believe the politician interfering in science will lead to more bias and less knowledge in society. While we agree with the government side that race can be subjective and it is often difficult to define, we think as long as there are any possibility of benefits, scientists should be able to use it. In opposition, we will show you the many possibilities of benefit that will justify using this category. And we found that the Mendelian disorders are more likely to be found in French-Canadian populations compared to Black Canadians. Therefore, allowing doctors to make preventive measures and tailor medicine that will work better for these groups. Through race categorization, scientists also found out that the Tay-Sachs was a genetic disease with increased prevalence among Ashkenazi Jews, which therefore the Jewish communities early on welcomed genetic testing for prospective parents by doing so dramatically reduced the incidence of the disease. Also, medical studies based on race, about race categorization also made it possible to discover that the African Americans with congestive heart failure actually made it respond to less effectively to the conventional CHF treatments compared to the white Caucasians, and that is why in 2005, Mr. Amana Speaker, the Food and Drug Administration actually authorized the sale of first race-based drug called Bidil. It was prescribed as a treatment for heart failure in African Americans and has now won the support of many other scientists. So, Mr. Amana Speaker, we want you to keep in mind that the harms that they talked about is going to be already disproved by and we're going to make a better society of having a discourse and a checks and balance between researchers. And we already gave you this clear and objective benefits that we're going to gain. And that is why we say that we strongly oppose this motion.
사실 예상을 못했어요. 근데 저쪽에서 소셜 렌즈라고 사람들이 보는 그런 눈과 이런 거를 얘기를 했는데, 근데 그거를 얘기를 했을 때 저희가 그러니까 대체적으로 엄청나게 크게 그게 가장 큰 포인트였는데 그걸 엄청나게 크게 반박을 못하고.
What did we hear from team opposition? They told you two arguments. First of all, on how it's ineffective, and second of all, on how it actually helps the minorities. We're going to rebut these thoroughly. Their main arguments of number one, ineffectiveness. We already told you about the social environmental factors that we don't think they got a clear response. But they also talk about quote-unquote French people and getting more Tay-Sachs and certain races being more likely to get Tay-Sachs. Number one, we like to point out that if somebody's half French and half Jewish, that the doctor will be very confused about that. Second of all, we say that actually not only the confusion, but that makes the doctor, if the doctor is not sure about what the patient is having, we say that he's going to give the French test or a Jew test. We think these kinds of things make the medical diagnostic much more inefficient and doesn't personalize it to one person. That's going to extend in my third argument. But furthermore, we say that Biddle was actually criticized for not just helping African Americans, but also helping Caucasians that's the same way because the distinction is so arbitrary. Moving on to our main arguments, we told you that race is obsolete and inaccurate. The only rebuttal they gave you was that there's quote-unquote a pure race. We say that there's actually not a pure race, but furthermore, we say that medicine is not objective. Let's get to the point, because we say that pharmaceutical companies want to make money. They don't make medicine for humanitarian purposes. And it is exactly that, because you see that in status quo, medicines for minorities are much less in quantity than medicine for majorities. We say that the reason for this is because when you target a certain group, you see that medicine, because it's to save somebody's life, shouldn't be targeted to a certain group.
팀워크가 생각보다 잘 되는 것 같았었고, 그리고 아쉬운 점들은 하지만 너무 리즈닝하고 애널리시스가 별로 없어서 어떤 때는 약간 위크했을 수도 있었는데 그래도 컨시스턴트하게 말했으니까.
반대측 두 번째 연설자 김민영 학생. 뜸을 좀 들이네요. 초조해 보이죠? 그리고 엄청난 한숨입니다.
앞에 막 많은 사람들이 있는 것도 떨리고 그 다음에 그 카메라도 있으니까 되게 처음에 세컨드 스피커 스위치를 할 때는 되게 긴장이 사실 많이 됐어요.
한숨을 쉬니까 좀 도움이 됐던가요?
글쎄요.
So ladies and gentlemen, today the proposition talked about a genome project and how we know about genetics because of this. But are you sure, proposition, that what you know now will be what you also know in the future? And are you arrogant enough that you think you know all about genetics, that you can say race isn't part of genes or science? We think that the answer is no. We think that we can always make discoveries. We think that we can always make discoveries, and we do always make discoveries from these stupid questions that these people think that is irrational or something. We are not racist, and we abhor racism. But let's not choose to be very, very ignorant. Millions of people identify themselves by their race, and even if it's not all of who you are, it is a part of who you are. So we think that racism caused facts to be looked at in a certain way, but facts never cause racism, Mr. Madam Speaker. So that is why it is scientific to call differences between gender, how women are actually able to have babies while men don't. We think that when sexism and sexists look at this in a different way, in an inferior way, we think that these sexists might say that women are inferior because they have babies, and this might cause them an inability to work compared to men. But we think that just because of that, we never ban research based on sex. We think that just because there is sexism, that is a problem for the government and governmental policies to solve, not science. We think that we support science based on everything, but we think that the problem is not about science itself, it is about the people who use them.
우선 너무 떨어가지고 제가 말하려는 거가 심사위원들한테 잘 전달이 안 된 것 같아요.
Prime ministers already come up to you and told us, or already set up how there is no such thing as pure race, right? And how race is not only something biological, but something that involves environmental and sociological effects as well. Why do you think that race is something that is only biological?
How do you know that there's no pure science? How do you know that just because there's no pure blood,
we
there's
see
no
African
differentiation?
Americans living in a poor condition right now. They're living in an inherently poor, unstable condition where they don't really have sustainable water. Where they don't really have healthy foods. Ladies and gentlemen, that is inherently harmful for them. It's not something that they're genetically born with, that they don't have any food to live with, or they have unhealthy food. It's something that is sociological. We say that can't be considered as something biological. We say that's inherently wrong. We say that's exactly why the opposition team loses on this debate today. But they also talk about how we have differences in women, right? But we say women and men are inherently different. We have biological differences. When it comes to race, however, they include other factors such as sociological and biological, which we say actually increases the racism as race. And that's why we say we don't really disprove racism. We see the opposition team who doesn't acknowledge the fact that race cannot be used as a category, whether or not it's justified or not.
서론하고 결론이 있긴 있었는데 되게 임팩트가 영향력이 별로 없는 그냥 식상한 걸로 시작한 것 같아서 그런 게 좀 아쉬웠어요.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a dirty social lens, change that lens, ladies and gentlemen. You believe that just because you have a dirty lens, it doesn't mean that it's not worthy of actually seeing society as it is in the factual society, ladies and gentlemen. You believe that regardless of how society utilizes it, scientists actually have a right to find out more about facts. We see this case in everyday society, ladies and gentlemen. Now in my speech, I'd like to prove the questions of this debate, and now why the opposition has taken this debate home.
엄청 중요한 포인트를 놓치지 않아서 잘했다고 생각하는데 그래도 놓친 게 몇 개 있어서
이번 토론의 쟁점이 된 소셜 렌즈에 대한 대응은 스스로 만족하지만 아쉬운 게 있다고 하는데요. 과연 뭘까요?
And secondly, you believe that you can never prove a negative, ladies and gentlemen. Thirdly, we believe that however, ladies and gentlemen, you believe that they have the birth, there is a mixture. The fact that you find out, firstly, they stated that they support this proof is boost of racism.
PY의 매력이 되게 지금 말을 하고 있는 스피커를 당황하게 할 수 있는 그런 거거든요. 그래서 저희가 준비해둔 게 많이 있었는데 그걸 말을 못해서 굉장히 아쉬워서 계속 PY를 했고.
Now I'd like to call upon opposition.
이제 마무리 총평이 남았습니다. 아까 떨어던 김민영 학생이 다시 나오네요. 민영 학생 자신 있게 화이팅!
Do we know all about genetics like the proposition states? No. Can you ever prove a negative statement? The answer is again no. So then how will you ever know that what you think of now, that race is not connected to genetics, will be what we know in the future, Mr. and Madam Speaker? We think that when Einstein told people that time and space has a correlation, everybody told him that he was insane, that these had no correlation. But everything starts from these stupid questions or crazy questions that people think of. We think that scientific discoveries always result from these kind of questions. So we think that we have actually a benefit in trying to make people also use race as a category. It is also proven in the status quo that Mendelian disorders are more prone to French Canadians, Tay-Sachs is more prone to Ashkenazi Jews, and CHF treatments are more effective on white Caucasians than black African Americans, Mr. and Madam Speaker. And when we never discover these facts, we would be never able to see if these people might have shorter lifespans due to these diseases, Mr. and Madam Speaker. We're very, very proud to oppose.
Let's be clear. The average scientist isn't going to publish a report that says African Americans and Asians are stupid, they should be segregated, they should be killed, they should be burned at the stake. Ladies and gentlemen, the kind of research that will be published, however, are the ones that are subtle and harm us subconsciously and our moral values as a whole. Let's clear up a few issues. First of all, the stats versus stats debate. We told you that it's false that Biddle worked better for African Americans because there's such a little difference between race that actually the medicine can't even find it out. We think that this proves that the medicine that was designed for African Americans works just as well on white Caucasians. We think that proves that there is no difference between race. We saw no engagement, and that's why we won the statistics. We make sure that scientific research is used to fund credible causes that actually prove causation. They're the ones who use government funds to fuel bigotry and continue the process of harms we are very proud to propose. Thank you.
It's a wonderful match. Trainers, would you stand up, please, and across the floor and shake hands.
드디어 토론이 모두 끝이 났습니다. 심판들이 매긴 점수가 차곡차곡 쌓입니다. 가장 숨막히는 순간. 누가 이겼을까요?
The winner of the grand finals of the 5th Ytn Junior Youth English Debating Championship is very close, 5-4 decision. Oh, the winner is the Lightbulbs.
The Lightbulbs 팀 정말 축하합니다. 조비스 팀도 정말 잘했어요.
Firstly, they stated that they support racism.
We need to not problem of them using it. So we need to
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Among the millions of examples we can give you. No, thank you, ma'am. Sit down. No, thank you, ma'am. Sit down. No, thank you, ma'am. Sit down.
그 PY를 하게 되면은 어쩔 때 좀 방해가 되는 게 있거든요. 왜냐면 하고 있는데 흐름을 막는 거잖아요, 어느 정도. 그러니까 그거를 좀 계속 하니까 어느 정도 한 번씩은 좀 강하게 앉으라고 해야지. 그 다음에 안 할 줄 알았는데 계속 하더라고요. 죄송합니다. 말하고 싶었어요.
사실 어떻게 보면 찬성 쪽에서 많은 부분이 그런 것을 했음에도 반대쪽에서 그것을 제대로 수용하지 못한 그런 부분도 조금 마이너스 포인트가 아니었나 그런 생각이 듭니다.
공약 실천해야 해요.
도행